I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTIL to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download.
What we tend to do is we focus into the future on all the suffering we're going to have to experience now because of their pregnancy. And I think a really powerful practice is to always bring the focus back to yourself, not trying to make yourself feel anything different, but what is a different perspective you could take?
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Molly Nichols to the podcast, and we're digging into guided fertility visualizations. Molly Nichols is a renowned fertility coach, certified energy healer, and teacher who specializes in educating women on how to uncover and heal the deeper mental, emotional, and spiritual causes of infertility through the use of fertility visualizations, spiritual practices, and an understanding of the mind-body-spirit connection to fertility. Molly helps women connect with a deeper sense of self, heal from the past, trust in the inner wisdom of their bodies, and open their hearts and wombs to conception, thereby deepening their connection with the spirit of their babies. Her unique approach to healing infertility has supported countless women around the world in becoming pregnant and in finding their unique pathway to motherhood. Molly's own personal 7-year fertility journey ended joyfully with the birth of her twins, who were conceived through IVF, and 2 years later, Molly became pregnant for a second time naturally. She attributes both of her pregnancies to the use of fertility visualizations and the healing powers of the mind-body-spirit connection, techniques she now teaches and shares with the world. Check out her website at mollynichols.com. That's MOLLYNICHOLS.com. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Molly, excited to have you on the podcast.
Hello, so excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you could share your journey with us, with the listeners, as to how you came to do this work.
Oh, yes. So becoming a fertility coach and a healer was definitely not something that I planned. It was something that it wasn't something I planned. It was something that kind of organically unfolded for me after my own 7-year fertility journey. So when I was growing up, there was only one thing I was really sure of my entire life, and that was that I wanted to be a mom. So I didn't have huge career plans. I wasn't like, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up. I just knew that I wanted to have a family. And when I met my husband, we started trying right away, and it didn't happen. So I fell kind of into a career in the luxury health and wellness industry, and my career grew from there. But all along, the plan was, as soon as I become pregnant, then I'm going to leave my career and I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm just going to, raise my children. But for 7 years, they did not come. And it was a journey of, throughout that process, as my career grew, all along, I never really looked within. I just always had this idea that I wanted to be a mom, and I started going through the process of seeing the different doctors. I did different fertility treatments. No one was ever really asking though, what was going on within me. It was more of looking at like different tests or stuff and like suggesting different things, but no one was really asking about the deeper things that were going on within me. So I was always thinking like, maybe I'm not worthy of being a mother. Maybe, I have this beautiful relationship with my husband and I get that, but maybe I don't get other things in life. You can have some things, but you can't have them all. I watched a lot of people around me become pregnant. And I thought that, maybe this one thing that I want so much I can't have, maybe I'm not worthy of motherhood. And maybe this is like, maybe I'm being punished or I've done something wrong. And as the years passed, my career, as I said, continued to climb, and I just switched jobs and I opened luxury spas in Southern California. And I just opened a new spa, and we were at this health and wellness conference, and there was a acupuncturist there. And she had been there all day, and I was waiting because I just had an unsuccessful IUI cycle, and I was waiting all day to talk to her to ask like what she thinks I should do, because I was thinking about going back into treatment. And I would have huge gaps in time between talking to doctors because I was afraid I was going to go to that one appointment and they were going to tell me, you know what, I'm so sorry, you're never going to be able to be a mom. So I'd take these huge gaps in time, and I was finally ready to go back. And I walked up to this acupuncturist, and she looks right at me and she says, "You don't believe you're going to become pregnant." She's like, "You don't believe it." And my first response was like, who the heck does this lady think she is? She doesn't know me. She just met me. And she's like, "You need to embody this fertile energy, this pregnancy energy," or this is how I interpret it now. And I think when we use the word believe, and I know we're going to be talking about that a lot in this conversation, she wasn't saying that I had done something wrong or that I was bad. She was really inviting me to look within, to go, what was going on inside my head? Did I think that this was a possibility for myself, or did this feel like a long shot? And truthfully, I went home that day, and after I kind of processed what she said, I began sitting with myself. And for the first time in my life, really being with what was going on inside my head and what did I believe? I had imagined that moment of saying I'm pregnant to my husband, but I had never seen myself pregnant in my mind. I'd never seen the big belly. I'd never imagined what it would feel like to have my baby move around in my belly. Like, what would it feel like to walk like I'm pregnant? In all of those years, I had never once visualized myself pregnant or seen myself pregnant in my mind, and which I think is really crazy for the fact that I've been in some way leading visualizations. Like even in my meetings, I managed 90 associates in the spas that I worked in. And, I oversaw massage therapists were the main people that I managed. And I would lead visualizations in my meeting, but I had never used visualization and had never really looked at the mind-body connection in reference to my own fertility and becoming pregnant. And it literally changed everything. In those moments where I began sitting with myself every single day, visualizing myself pregnant, really changing the story that was going on in my head. And what unfolded for me was that all of a sudden this knowing was kind of activated within me. And for the first time in my entire life through this process, I knew I was going to be a mom. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I knew that it was going to happen and that I was going to do everything that I could to become pregnant. Now, with that said, I was also tuning in, and because of this new connection I had with myself, I had with my body, which happens through the visualization process, I felt so much more in tune with my intuition. So I knew that it was time to go back into treatment. We ended up going into IVF. I became pregnant with twins. And became pregnant with twins, which I never expected. I mean, after 7 years, I was pretty happy. I was like, well, if I get one baby, I'll be so excited. So I remember that day so specifically, laying down on the ultrasound table and them saying that there were two babies. And it was just like, my mind was blown. So after that, becoming pregnant and then giving birth to my twins, I kept looking back and going, why over all that time did no one ever talk to me about how my mental and emotional well-being was, what I believed, what I thought? they never, one of my jobs that I was working at was under so much stress. No one ever spoke to me about that. So I felt like I had discovered something that could change other women's lives. And I wanted to just scream it from the rooftops. And so that's what I've been doing since. And in that process, I then became pregnant again through natural conception with my daughter, Tilly. So I have twin boy-girl twins who are Birdie and Brooks. And then I have another daughter little Tilly. And and it's become just my mission and purpose now to share that not only is there's another way to navigate the fertility journey, and that there's so much more to our fertility than just the physical act of sperm and egg coming together for conception to happen. There's our mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, and physical fertility. Our fertility is not one-dimensional. And if we collectively can begin supporting our fertility from the beginning multidimensionally, rather than it just being so physically focused, I think that it can make the journey not so hard, where we feel like it takes everything from us. And so looking back, I can go, wow, there was a purpose that I didn't know at the time through all those years of heartache and negative month after month after month, and discovering visualization and the mind-body connection, and really becoming somewhat obsessed with understanding how our mind works in reference to how it impacts our bodies, and just the lens through which we view our circumstances has, just become my mission, my obsession, my purpose in life. So women truly know how much hope there is for them, regardless of what they have been told or what they've experienced up until this point on their journeys.
Yeah, I love it. Such a powerful story and really empowering story. And you talked about that feeling, not worthy of motherhood, and maybe you were being punished. And so that kind of came up a lot. And then that acupuncturist there just really asking you that question, and then made you going deeper. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. And then that aha moment where you just discover this whole thing. And now it's like, as you say, your career then shifted, and next thing you know, you're, doing this work, which is the same for me. I never saw this coming a million miles away. I was in HR for years. And then I was writing a book on weight loss. And then I'm like, why am I writing a book on weight loss? I'm like, I've never experienced weight problems in my life. My issue has been fertility. And so it's interesting kind of how these things organically come and it is, if you are typically people that come to work with me, I'm not sure if you find the same thing, like those type A driven, always have a plan. And then the organic way seems like, what are you talking about? I have to go with the flow. Like this is crazy, but that actually is where all the really kind of rich and juicy stuff is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's it. Like, we're really good at following the plan. We're really good at checking things off the list, but it's this deeper work that for a lot of us ends up being the more difficult work, because we actually have to slow down and be with ourselves and what's happening and what's going on or what's already occurred. And sometimes that's not easy, because we have to be honest with ourselves with stuff that maybe we don't want to look at. But the freedom comes in looking at it and knowing that nothing that has occurred so far, or that you've been told, like looking at it and being honest with yourself, that's where the freedom lies. Because then once you have that, you can make empowered choices moving forward.
And so why are the things we want so hard to believe in? And really that word believe too can be quite triggering for women. Really, what do you mean? I just have to sit here and believe, and all the rest of the stuff. And it can be like that word in itself can cause pain, because they're saying, of course I believe. And then, so they're sort of disconnected potentially from the experience. So yeah, can you sort of dig into that for us a little bit?
Yeah, believe is a really interesting word, because, especially on the fertility journey, because what we internalize it as is that if we even use the word believe and we talk about it, then I think women on the fertility journey, we're so apt to blame ourselves, to go, we must be doing something wrong. So are you saying I haven't believed enough?
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually not the truth at all. My signature fertility visualization program is called Believe, because this is how passionate I am about this word. And it's not that you don't believe. I think it's about looking at what is it that you actually do believe. Maybe it's not that you don't believe that you'll be a mother, but maybe you feel like that there's something deeper going on in there, that maybe you feel like you're not worthy of having everything you desire in life, or maybe you believe that your body is broken. It's not really one dimensional. It's an invitation to look deeper, to go, what is the place that I'm operating from? Our beliefs are the lens through which we view everything, and our beliefs drive our behavior and actions. So if there is a belief running in the back of our heads that says, hey, my body, I feel like my body's broken, I'm too old, I don't have any good eggs left, I'm not worthy, then we make choices through that lens. And a lot of times we feel powerless, we feel broken. And so with this idea of believing, I never think that a woman or a couple has not become pregnant because they didn't believe enough. Mm-hmm. It's really an invitation to look within, to go, what are the beliefs that I'm operating from? Are there core beliefs that I need to look at that I may need to change? And if I look at, hey, today, yeah, I feel like maybe my belief has been that my body's broken, but if I become aware of that, I can then tune into it and change the dialogue that I have with myself. I can change my beliefs. See, that's the beauty of it. You can change your beliefs. They're malleable, they're changeable. But again, it goes back to doing the work to first become aware, and knowing in that awareness that what you've believed or what's been going on in your mind up until now is not wrong or in any way. And I think the fertility journey sometimes for many of us is a call, or even an awakening, to call ourselves to a higher place so we can become a greater version of ourselves, to release maybe limiting thoughts and beliefs that haven't been serving us for a long time. Is a belief that we need to take care of everybody else before ourselves. So sometimes on the fertility journey, we have nothing left for ourselves because we're giving so much to other people. So it's not just about the idea of believing in becoming pregnant or in becoming a mother, but it's even looking at deeper in the beliefs you have about how the world works, how you show up in life. And I know it is a trigger. And I think when we look at believing, again, I want to say, in no way are your circumstances or your fertility journey, are you to blame for that, or that you've done anything wrong? It's only at this point an invitation to look at, what is the place that I'm operating from? And are those beliefs serving me or not serving me? Because we have to look at, you want a child more than anything in the world, and it's with you every moment of the day. But if there's fear that's driving you because you feel like you believe you're running out of time, or you believe that your body's broken, or you believe that you're too old, or whatever the story might be, then we tend to hand our power away and allow other people to make choices for us that might not actually feel in alignment or to feel good to us. But we go, okay, but they know better than I do. They have more knowledge about me than I do, which is not true. Mm-hmm. So think about how you would navigate your fertility journey if you stood in the energy. And sometimes it's not always consistent. It might ebb and flow of like, my body is whole, beautiful, fertile, and complete, and has the capacity and the capability to become pregnant. How would you then navigate your journey? If you were just to say, okay, I trust where I'm at right now, or I trust the path that I'm on, or I believe I always make the right choice. How would you navigate your journey? So I know that the word believe can be a trigger, but I think it's to look at, or to see it more as an invitation. As the woman said to me, you don't believe. She wasn't blaming me. It was an invitation to go, well, what is going on inside my head? And is that serving me, or allowing me to feel powerless or broken or unworthy of what I truly desire? And in changing your beliefs, you can change your life and how you experience what's happening to you.
Yeah, because a lot of times we're on automatic pilot. We don't even know that we're thinking these thoughts, like you're talking about feeling broken or feeling powerless or running out of time, or the eggs are too old. And that these thoughts are just running on a big giant loop in our mind over and over again. And then for us to kind of take pause to look at them, and then without judgment to see, because a lot of times then there'll be judgment that we're placing on ourselves. So just get curious about the thoughts. And as you say, it's an invitation to kind of look a little deeper.
Absolutely. And we're our worst critics. And you want to know you're doing it right. You want to know you're doing all the right things. And sometimes, again, when we look within and we take that pause and we create that space. One thing I talk a lot about in my work with my clients too is really slowing down to pause and to just be with what you've already been through and how you're feeling right now, so you can be intentional in how you're moving forward. And if there is that belief, the age one is a huge one. I'm super passionate about supporting women in their 40s and becoming pregnant, because there's everywhere they go, they're being told you're too old, mention of the age. So you do have to look at is how that belief of being too old is driving your behaviors, and to know sometimes we just have to keep reminding ourselves, like the affirmation is just that I'm safe, that I'm okay, that I can trust myself. And if we don't trust ourselves and we hand that power away, it just continues to perpetuate that. But you're so much more powerful. Your body is so much more powerful than I think we've been led to believe all the way since we were little girls. We as women are innately so powerful, and our bodies are just the capacity and the ability to heal and transform and carry life. It's really profound, but there's all these stories about that we've been told about ourselves or about our bodies. And so we need to create that space and time to look within. And it really begins by just slowing down a bit to be with the tape, because everything you thought yesterday, 90% of that you'll think again today. So it's just everything's on rinse and repeat. So we have to change the tape if the tape that we're currently got playing isn't working for us.
Mm-hmm. And then there's that negativity bias where, you could have this great, beautiful day. Everyone's complimenting you, or everything's going well, and you just feel, all these great things. And then one person or something happens, and all you do is you forget about all the good stuff. You focus over and over again on that negative comment, something that's happened that's negative. And so then how does that impact our ability to manifest or really believe?
Yeah, when someone makes the one comment that sets you down the rabbit hole.
The vicious rabbit hole, the infertility rabbit hole, and you're gone.
Yeah, this is where it becomes so essential that we have a practice put into place and it takes time. One of the things I like to talk about a lot is the fact that we need to stop forcing ourselves to be positive, like where we think like we're supposed to be positive all the time, and therefore, then everything's going to be okay. But human nature, we're not positive all the time, nor are we meant to be positive all the time. We have a beautiful rainbow of emotions. And again, we're really great at telling ourselves that we should be thinking or feeling something different. So when someone makes a comment, or we get that pregnancy announcement and it kind of throws us off track, we start to think like, oh, we should be thinking something different. We should be feeling something different. When in reality, if we just were to love and accept ourselves in that moment, to go, yeah, I'm triggered right now. And just really stopping and tuning in to go, what part of me feels afraid right now? What part of me is jealous right now? What part of me is just pissed and angry because of what was said? And really being present to that, I think first and foremost, can go a really long way without any judgment or self-criticism around you should feel or be thinking something different. And when we're talking about visualizations or even affirmations or mindset work in general, it's never about forcing the other thoughts to go away, because I think the other place we go to is like, I shouldn't be thinking this, and then this is doing something to my fertility. I'm more stressed out. Like we go through this patterning of, I've had a really bad day today. How has that impacted my fertility? And then we're even more hard on ourselves, and it just keeps we like spiral downward. So I think it's important to have practices in place, and also know that you're not trying to force yourself to think something different, force yourself to be positive. You just want to create space and time to begin welcoming in or inviting in new thoughts, ideas, and images. So you're creating that space to begin to go, okay, if this happens, I get the pregnancy announcement, or I get the inconsiderate thought, where you're bringing the focus back to yourself, where you're not going like, what we tend to do, we'll use the pregnancy announcement because I feel like that's a good one. Is that when the pregnancy announcement tends to be one of the biggest triggers, especially if it's someone close to you or someone at work. And what we tend to do is we focus into the future on all the suffering we're going to have to experience now because of their pregnancy. And I think a really powerful practice is to always bring the focus back to yourself. How am I feeling in this moment? And not trying to make yourself like feel anything different, but what is a different perspective you could take? And one thing I really love to invite women to do is to go, instead of projecting, like once you've kind of processed it all, the jealousy, the irritation, all of that, which is totally normal and absolutely fine that you feel that way. Then it's coming back to going, okay, well, because once we put the focus so far down to all the suffering we'll have to experience, we're then like, our power is then in a different direction. It's all about the other person rather than about you. So then what I like to say is put your hands on your belly, skin to skin, close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and then bring your focus to the day that you'll be announcing that you're pregnant. Or see yourself with your big, beautiful belly. See that person as what they're sharing with you as a symbol or a sign of what is to come for you. Now, this, of course, can take a bit of practice, but it can be life-changing when you continue just to bring the focus over and over and over again back to yourself. And to have those little images, like the view of you with the big belly, you making the pregnancy announcement, or just feeling connected to yourself, can really make all the difference. An affirmation, something that you say to yourself in that moment that will just remind you of the truth of what's possible for you. Because we get really caught up in like, why them and not me? And what we have to remember is that your relationship with your child is unique. Your life path is unique. And what happens with them has really nothing to do with your journey. So how can you keep bringing the focus back to yourself to go, okay, how am I okay right now? What is it that I want for myself? That happening for them does not mean anything's wrong with me. It does not mean that I'm broken and that you're sad or jealous or even angry at the situation. It also has nothing to do with that person. It just has to do with how your heart individually is hurting because you want to have a child so bad. So you just acknowledge that I'm feeling this way right now because of my deep and loving desire to have a child. So just always bringing the focus back to yourself. How am I feeling? And what can I do in this moment? Not to force myself to think something different, but maybe an invitation to change the energy, the perspective, or to reframe things.
Yeah. So to acknowledge those feelings. And then, as you say, putting that hand to skin and thinking about when you announce your pregnancy, when you're pregnant and have your baby. Now, I guess if you have a hard time visualizing that for yourself, you could just even say the affirmation then instead of the announcement, or sometimes people have a hard time visualizing themselves pregnant or having a baby, and then maybe they see themselves with the child, maybe 2 or 3 years old. So what are some suggestions there?
Yeah. Well, so that's interesting. The interesting thing that we need to be aware of too is that we're always visualizing. Our mind sees in pictures and images. So we're at all times, we are always visualizing. So if it feels like too much for you to like see yourself with a big, beautiful belly, you can of course see yourself with a toddler. You can just connect with your womb and see your womb open and ready to receive your child. It's really whatever feels best to you. The affirmations absolutely work, but I really invite you to even see your life, like to pick a picture sometime in the future, whatever feels most comfortable to you, but to know that your mind sees in pictures and images. What we're usually really clear on is what we don't want to happen. We're usually really clear on and we picture maybe getting the unsuccessful pregnancy test, or the doctor calling with maybe the news that we're not pregnant, or maybe we create that plan of what we'll do maybe if we won't have kids. There's a lot of preparing for the disappointment. And so my invitation is to look at, well, what if you were to prepare in a way that felt comfortable with you? And sometimes it takes a bit of time. Sometimes it can happen right away. But to spend a little time just imagining, daydreaming almost, of what it would look like if things did work out in your favor. What if, how would things feel if, or how would things look and how would you feel? Because we want not just to be the image or just saying the words of the affirmation. It's really about the emotion and the feelings that accompany it. Mm-hmm. So that day, like that you get the positive pregnancy test, or that someone, you get the call from the doctor, or that day that maybe you're just playing at the park with your little one, pushing your toddler on the swing, or running around looking at the birds, the trees, it can be, think about, because a lot of times I ask women too, like, so what are you most excited about in being a mother? Like, what are you excited about? Or what are you most looking forward to? And it's like, there might be some things, but they haven't really allowed themselves to go farther into the future because it feels really vulnerable. Because the question we're asking on the other end is, what if it doesn't happen? And so we're preparing for the what if it doesn't happen. But I invite you to go, well, what if it does? To ask yourself that question. What if it does happen? What would I like for that to look like? And you don't have to fully believe that that's going to happen right away. It's just to try it on, to feel into it, so you can start to get the energy aligned with it to go, oh, I'm really looking forward to that moment where my baby's moving around in my belly. I'm really looking forward to their first birthday. I'm really looking forward to like carrying them in the carrier, whatever it might be. So there can be a balance between, and you're not trying to force, again, the fear or the worry or like preparing for the disappointment or whatever. We don't need to make that go away, but I think that there should be this balance of even a small amount of time every day focusing on, well, what if it does happen? What would your life look like? What would things look like? How would it feel to like be sitting on your sofa snuggled up with your newborn baby, kissing their forehead, touching their hands, feeling their little fingers. And even as I'm saying this, you can all see it because I'm painting a picture for you, and your mind sees in pictures and images. So tuning into the feeling of the blanket that your baby's wrapped in, the weight of their body against your chest, what it might feel like when you nurse, how you would feel when they give you that little smile and you look into their eyes, holding their hand, running on the beach, digging in the sand, really looking at and feeling into the experience that you will be having when your baby comes. And this is transformational because it allows your energy, your emotions, and things to shift. And when you are operating on your fertility journey from this place, it changes, I think, not only the trajectory, but how you make decisions, how you feel, and you'll feel so much more in alignment with your decisions rather than when you're making decisions that are from that place of fear or uncertainty and based on maybe around what somebody else might have told you was possible for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting what you're talking about. So that negativity bias, where it's very easy for us to see the negative outcomes. And then so that comes maybe on automatic pilot, or we're like, oh my goodness, catastrophizing. Whereas here, to really focus on seeing and really feeling you're either being pregnant or seeing your child and all, and really looking at that as far, instead of automatically going to the negative side of things. So how do we then release our fears?
That's such a good question. How do we release our fears? Yeah. So it comes back again to awareness. We have to become aware of our fears. And there's a huge misconception out there that says, if you acknowledge your fears, you're going to manifest more of your fears. Like, we shouldn't give energy to them. We need to, just make them go away, force them to go away. And I believe the exact opposite. And there's new brain research that actually tells us that to be mindful of your fears, to look at them, to see them, not to put all your energy into them, but to really become mindful of them, takes their power away. Because if we try to ignore our fears, we try to push them back to the back of our heads, it ends up we're going on autopilot and they're driving the ship anyway. So it's really important to become mindful of your fears. And one of my favorite exercises to do is to just take a piece of paper, write out, just brain dump essentially all of your fears that you have around your fertility or around, anything else that's going on in life. And then look at, can you reframe them in the form of an affirmation? So, a big one, of course, is maybe I waited too long to have my baby. Someone who's worried about their age and their fertility, maybe I waited too long. And then you can reframe that into, I'm on the right path and this is my time. Looking back, and I think when we're looking at our fears too, to ask the question, is it really true? Is the fear of whatever happening, is that actually ultimately true for myself? And a lot of times we'll find that they're not. Sometimes we have fears that are operating based on something that was told to us when we were a teenager. I can't tell you how many women I talked to who had a comment made by a doctor when they were teenagers about PCOS, their period, something, or their ability to become pregnant as an adult that is still operating within them as, that was said to them as children that are still affecting them as adults. To look at where you perhaps feel shame around something, and the fear of that shame is showing up, like if you've chose to have a termination somewhere, that's another big one where it's like, okay, you're just blaming yourself. Maybe I did something wrong, therefore I'm not becoming pregnant because of this. And we have to look at those things to go, no, that's not true. I'm never being punished in any way. And if you were to release that fear, how would you show up on your journey? How would you feel? And I think it's important that we begin looking at our fears and becoming mindful of them. So then we know when they're in the driver's seat. Because when we have fear in the driver's seat, it usually feels really chaotic. It feels anxious, and we don't feel very powerful. When your intuition and your own personal knowing is in the driver's seat, it can feel a little scary. It can feel even a little irrational because it might be going against perhaps something that you've been told or someone's told you, but it just feels right. And so much of the fertility journey leads us into this place where we don't feel connected to our intuition. We don't feel connected to our bodies. We don't feel connected to ourselves. And this level of inner awareness, both with our fears, what we truly desire. I mean, look at your fears, but also look at, what is it that I truly desire from life? Be an active participant in your journey and being clear. I'm a huge, this past year, I've become crazy about journaling. Anything you hear me talk on, I'm always talking about journaling, because when we journal, it allows us to get to the subconscious. It allows us to get below the surface to go, what is going on? What am I, like, what is my deepest fear? And as I shared at the beginning of our conversation, one of the things that I was so afraid of is that I was going to go to the doctor and they were going to tell me that I could never have a baby. Like, that was a really big fear because I wanted to be a mother so badly. And so when I spent the time doing the inner work, that just kind of fell away, where I was like, no longer afraid that what anyone was going to tell me, because I was so confident in my own knowing, because I was then connected to myself. So we want to look at our fears. We want to get back into our bodies. We want to be present to what's going on in our heads and how we're moving through life in that. And this isn't about perfection. It's not about getting it right. It's just about loving awareness. And I think the biggest thing as you're navigating this and even looking at your fears is just to be curious. Like, curious about why you think the things you do, why you believe the things you do, and where those came from. Are they even yours? Are the fears you have about your fertility, do they even belong to you? Or were they given to you that you took on as your truth, but somewhere all along you've known, this is not mine and I don't really believe this, but I've been acting from this space because I took it on as my own. And how would you feel if you release that? So then I say, are you willing to believe something different? Are you willing to let that fear go? Are you willing to choose something different for yourself? And in the beginning, sometimes it takes, well, I don't know, but in the beginning, I think it does take repetition, because you have certain neural pathways in your brain that have been created because of the thoughts that you think. So you have to create new pathways. And that's what affirmations, the visualizations, that's what those do. So it does become a practice, but really looking at your fears, there's so much freedom in looking at them and then going, what can I choose for myself instead? What would be the opposite of this? And how would I feel tuning into that this is my time, or my body is fertile, I am fertile, I'm on the right path, whatever that might be for you. But really looking at them, becoming aware, and really knowing that you can choose something different.
Yeah, because when we ignore them, then they just will seep out in the absolute worst times.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we go, how did that happen? How did that happen? Or you're going, like, one of the things, a big one is when you go to the doctor's office, like, what is the person, and especially if you've had unsuccessful cycles or something, you go in, we're already preparing ourselves, fearful of what they're going to say, or fearful of the comment when you go to see family. So our stress response is almost like already turned on and preparing for what's going to happen. But another tool I like to use or practice is, like, before you go into the doctor's office, before you go to a family event, anytime you're playing out worst case scenario where you feel like you have to prepare yourself for what's going to come, spend a couple moments just breathing and then visualizing how you want it to happen. You go to the family event, you and your partner are there. If you're single, whatever the beautiful way you're choosing to call your child in. But before you go to any of these things or go to your appointments, see everyone greeting you with a smile. That if someone says something, it bounces off you, it doesn't affect you, you just smile and kind of laugh about it. But that we don't have to prepare or put the armor on when we move around throughout our journeys. We can choose to go, okay, what they say, it doesn't really have anything to do with me, it has to do with them, and I'm okay no matter what happens.
And really, as in a first step, you say basically doing that brain dump and putting all your fears on paper, and then looking to set an affirmation on the other side to then kind of get really honest with yourself about it.
Absolutely. And in that curious, loving, non-judgmental way that, like, you'll find, I think with journaling specifically, like when you start to write things down and you just allow yourself that free space, you'll start to be like, wow, I didn't know that was showing up there. We usually have some surface fears that we're pretty aware of, but a lot of times you might have stuff about becoming a mother, stuff about becoming pregnant. Like, you really want to become pregnant, but maybe you have a fear of becoming pregnant, or maybe you've got a fear about becoming a mother because of how you were mothered. Sometimes there's things going on that we're not aware of, but when we create, again, this space to be with that, it's like the freedom that comes from it, that comes from self-awareness, because then we no longer have to be held hostage by it. And we become the drivers again, instead of the subconscious stuff that's keeping us in fear and overwhelmed, paralyzed, or in this constant state of going.
Mm-hmm. Also, tapping can be really, really beneficial too. We have an episode 41, and we talk about emotional freedom technique, and we use this with our clients as well. Sometimes it's like those thoughts that you don't even know are there, and then kind of tapping into that and being able to tap through it and sort of releasing some of those emotional blocks that you may have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tapping is super helpful as well. I agree.
Yeah. And so your jam here is visualization. You love that. So are you able to lead us through one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a couple things I like to say before we go into the visualization is that there's no right or wrong way to do it. And everyone experiences visualization in a different way. So some of you may feel a lot. Some of you may see a lot. Some of you, it may feel like, I didn't get much, but it will unfold for you later. Again, it comes back to that loving curiosity of what you're experiencing in itself. Okay, so there's no right or wrong. It's just really being open and curious. Now, if something comes up for you, we're like, oh, I can't see that, or that feels a little off, or that's a little uncomfortable. Tune into that. Know that you're in control. You get to paint the picture. All sorts of different stuff comes up in visualization. Sometimes things come up like you see maybe your niece's face on your baby, or you can't see your belly. Or, I have one client who, she was like, I never really feel anything. Like I never really see a lot. And I was like, well, when we do the certain part where you connect with your baby, how does that feel? She's like, oh, I feel this warm, loving sensation that just washes over me. I'm like, that's your baby. That's your connection. So it's different for everyone. And the most important thing is just to be open and curious as you go through it. If anything does feel uncomfortable, then know that you're in control. You can shift it at a playful, loving energy, but know that everybody experiences it totally different. Okay. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. So I want to invite you now to just rub your palms together, creating a little warm, loving energy between your hands. And then you can place a hand over your heart and a hand over your womb, preferably skin to skin if you can. And now to center and ground in with 3 deep breaths in whatever way feels most comfortable to you in this moment. Each breath, feeling your body soften. Feel your shoulders drop, your spine relax. Feel your awareness moving from your mind down into your heart, into your body, into your womb. Just scanning your body head to toe, feeling or seeing if there's any discomfort. And if so, just feeling that lighten and loosen. And with your next deep breath, I want to invite you now to envision 1,000-petal crystalline lotus crown being placed on the top of your head. This is your fertility crown. And it's filled and overflowing with an abundance of the most incredible loving energy. And this loving energy pours down in, around, and through your entire body. It moves down your neck, across your back, down each vertebrae of your spine, out the base of your spine, and deep down into the earth, grounding you mind, body, and spirit. This loving energy moves down through your head, down through your throat. And this beautiful, loving, fertile energy pours into your heart, into your beautiful heart space. Your heart is the place where conception has already begun. The moment that you had the loving desire to have a child. Feel this loving energy moving in and opening your heart to the perfect amount that you feel comfortable with. And opening up your heart just to deepen your connection with yourself, with your body, and with your beautiful, precious baby. This loving energy moves down through your solar plexus, down through your abdomen, and it pours into your womb. It pours into your ovaries, and as it does, your eggs are just filled with so much love and life and light. Feel them waking up. Feel them getting excited. Your fallopian tubes open, flowing with this loving, fertile energy. And your womb just open. The perfect place to hold, to grow, to receive your baby. This loving energy now flows down your thighs, your knees, your calves and ankles, and out the bottoms of your feet. So your entire body is overflowing and filled with this beautiful, loving, white, fertile energy, activating, turning on your fertility. It seeps into every cell, your tissues, your blood, your bones, your skin, your organs, your entire essence, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, energetic, all filled with this beautiful, loving energy. And with your next deep breath, just expanding this energy now out beyond your body in all directions. Feel it like a warm blanket wrapped around you. Just fully embodying the truth of who you are, the magnificent, fertile woman that you are. And I want to invite you now to envision yourself in the most beautiful garden that you have ever been in. Green grass as far as you can see. Your favorite flowers. Sun shining down upon you. White billowy clouds in the sky. And as you look down, you see you're wearing the most beautiful, comfortable clothes. Maybe a dress, a jumper, perhaps shorts and a comfy tank top. And you notice in this moment that you are pregnant. Big, beautiful belly beneath your hands. And you're in this beautiful, sacred space, this safe space to tune within, to connect with your body, to connect with your baby. Feel the magnificence of your body as you walk around admiring all the beauty in this beautiful sacred space, your space to connect with what you truly desire from your life. To be pregnant, to have your child, your baby. And you walk around this beautiful space, this beautiful sacred garden, and you feel powerful. You feel empowered, and you feel deeply connected to your baby. And you walk over, and there's this stream, this brook, and the water is flowing downstream, and you walk over and you put your feet in the water, you sit down. You hear the sound of the birds and the animals. And if there's anything right now that you're ready just to let go, to wash away that will support you on your fertility journey moving forward, a story about your body, a story about what's possible, a story about time or age. Just feel that and experience that washing downstream, leaving you, being washed away, cleared, and creating even more space to receive your beautiful, precious baby, this baby that is already here with you in spirit. Feel as you let this go, as it's washed away, feel your strength increasing. Feel your intuitive knowing getting stronger. Feel your baby moving in your beautiful belly. Take a breath. Say to yourself, I trust my body. I trust my baby. I trust the path that I am on. And now you stand up and we move a little farther into the future. And now you're walking around your sacred garden, this beautiful space. But you have your sweet baby in a wrap that you're carrying around, and they look up at you and you feel their body against your body. You feel the essence of your baby, of your child. You know them. They know you. You are the perfect mother for your child. And you walk around and you show them all of your favorite things in your garden. You whisper how much you love them in their ear. You're with them, and they with you. And you take a breath and say to yourself, I am the perfect mother for my child. And now we move a little farther into the future, and now you're in your sacred garden with the most joyful, happy toddler. And you walk hand in hand, playfully running around the garden, looking at all the birds and the bugs and the flowers and the plants, bare feet, green grass. And you walk over to that same creek, and you're hand in hand with your feet in the water. And you cross over the creek to the other side. You've made it to the other side of this journey. And as you look back, you know that all unfolded absolutely as it was supposed to bring you to this moment, the woman and the mother that you are. And you lean down, and your little one wraps their arms around your neck, kisses you. You scoop them up. Again, you feel the weight of their body. And they whisper something in this moment into your ear that they want you to know. And anyone who's listening, you will receive a message. Perhaps a word, a feeling, a symbol, a sign, something that lets you know your sweet child is here with you to keep going, that you're on the right path. And you receive your message, and you kiss them, and you have a little message for them as well. Whatever is on your heart to share. You take a deep breath, and your little one now hand in hand, and anyone else that you might like to welcome in, anyone else who will be celebrating this child with you, who will be celebrating you as a woman, as a mother. They're with you. And you walk into the future, this beautiful life that you have created. You are loved, you are whole, you are fertile, and you are the perfect mother for your child. You can take another deep breath. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you for that. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Got me a little teary.
Yeah, I think, I like to use the sacred garden too, especially if you have ladies who are new to visualization, because it can be a place that you get to create within your mind to know that it's always there for you. And your imagination is such a beautiful and powerful tool. And that just being in this energy for 10 minutes a day can make such a difference, where it doesn't matter any of the other fear or anything else that's going on the rest of the day. You can be in whatever mindset, but if you just have this little bit of time that you create to connect, I see it time and time again where it changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And is there a book or a website or an app, anything you're obsessed with right now that you'd like to read?
Yes. So I'm obsessed with the Think Up app. It's an app that you can record your affirmations into that are in your own voice.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So it's called Think Up. And so you literally type your affirmation in, record it in your own voice. And there's something really powerful when we can hear something in our own voice that happens. So I think that with writing, your affirmations or just putting it in, and our voice in the back of our head is in our own voice. So to hear our own voice repeating these positive affirmations, and they put music to the back of them. You can upgrade. I think it's for like super cheap. And yeah, it's my absolutely favorite.
Love it. Think up. Great. And is there a success story you'd like to share with us?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I thought a lot about this, and it's such a good question. And I wanted to share about one of my clients who I had spoken to her on New Year's Day. I think it was 2 years ago. And when we talked, she had been through my Believe program. And when we had talked, she was preparing to go through an IVF cycle, but her husband really wasn't into it. He was really overwhelmed, and he didn't know, she really wasn't, she felt bad that she wanted this and that she had done so much work, but that he was resistant to IVF. And my advice to her was just to continue on doing the self-care practices and the things that she's been doing through diet and nutrition, as well as all the mindset stuff and connecting with her baby, which is what I call the trifecta. So diet, I think, is essential, mental and emotional support, and then connecting with your baby, your spiritual fertility. And so we had that conversation, and I said, whatever happens, whether you decide to move forward or not, just know that continue to connect with yourself, where the focus doesn't need to be on him. Just keep the space open for him to feel how he's feeling, and whatever's happened, if you keep strong in yourself, doing your work, everything will plan out how it's supposed to. So they ended up canceling the IVF cycle and not going through it because it was just too much for him. And she kept doing the work, and she kept just focusing on herself. She didn't keep going into the fact that we didn't do it. They were still planning on doing it again in the future, but they just took that break. And lo and behold, she actually became pregnant naturally. And they end up not needing to go to IVF. But it was that focus where I think we can get overly focused on our partners and maybe what they're not doing or what somebody else should be doing, and going, okay, if you can keep the focus on yourself, knowing that we can share our opinions and we can share different things that, what we want with them. But if we keep the focus on ourselves and how to continue bettering ourselves and our mindset and our energy and our experience in our lives, I think some of those things work themselves out naturally because we're not hyper focused on the other person. And so, so she became pregnant naturally. She was in her 40s. And so that's one of my favorite success stories, where it seemed like things were working out in her favor, but they ended up.
I love it. Love it. Thanks for that. Yeah. And so now you have a free fertility affirmation download that the listeners can get at bit.ly/Molly affirmations. Can you share with the listeners what they'll get there?
Yes. So recently I went and recorded all of my favorite fertility affirmations. So the feedback that I've been getting from this download has been beyond what I thought that it would be. I just had this idea to record all of my favorite affirmations to some relaxing music in the background. I've recorded, hundreds of guided visualizations, but I've never done specifically just affirmations. And this download, you literally just, as soon as you opt in, it'll send you the link, and you can download it to your phone, to your iTunes. You can play it, and you just, when you listen to it, you'll hear the affirmation, tune into the energy and the essence of the affirmation, say it out loud. And just as you do that, these are like, I think affirmations too, they're like declarations. You're declaring what you desire for yourself. You're declaring how you want to feel. And a little insight also, if you're listening to one of the affirmations and there's resistance to it, that's another invitation to go, why am I feeling this resistance? What's trying to come through here? What might I be able to learn about myself through this resistance? And also the ones that feel really great. You can go, oh, wow, look how excited, look how good this feels. And that you go to that one can become your mantra when you get thrown off track, or that comment comes up, or where you feel like you're going down the rabbit hole. You can just tune back in and go, okay, I've got this tool. So it's really, it's one of my favorite things that I've created.
Awesome. So bit.ly/Molly affirmations, get your free fertility download for the affirmations. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. I love the visualization and everything else that you're talking about. So empowering for women on the fertility journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been truly an honor, and I just feel really grateful to be able to share this information with your community, and just that women know how much hope that there is, and that we can have, there's a different way to navigate, to feel, and to heal on the fertility journey.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Hey there, Sarah Clark here. So are you struggling to have your baby? First of all, please know that my heart goes out to you. I support couples worldwide who are struggling with infertility to conceive and have healthy babies. Women like Rita, who gave birth to her beautiful daughter after following my fertility coaching system. Or Danielle, who after 2 failed IUIs was able to get pregnant after a Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call with me. So here's how you get my help for free. So I offer a free Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call, and on that call, I'll create a plan with you that is going to help you fast track your success. So this call is not for everyone. And I'm really picky about who I get to speak with. And I have a strict but totally reasonable criteria that needs to be met in order for us to move forward. So here's who I can help. So first of all, you need to be able to explore your infertility diagnosis in a new light. So this offers for people who are open-minded, they're coachable, and if you can do that and want to double or triple your chances at the fertility clinic or get pregnant, awesome. So let's get on the phone and chat. Also, you must be an action taker. So someone who's committed to seeing results, you're able to follow directions. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to do anything bizarre. But if you're one of those people who like to consume a ton of information, but don't like to spend time implementing and seeing results, then the call's not really for you. So I only want to spend time with people who are genuinely committed to their own success. So just click on the link in the show notes and apply, or go to fabfertile.com and click on the free consult. So it's a really short application that just tells me about your health, how long you've been trying to conceive, and how soon you'd like to be pregnant. So seriously, this is going to be the best time you've ever spent on your fertility. Looking forward to chatting. Talk soon. Thank you for listening to Get Pregnant Naturally. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTILE to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. And I love this quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, medical director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine. Functional medicine is medicine by cause, not by symptom. Functional medicine practitioners don't in fact treat disease. We treat your body's ecosystem. We get rid of the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, and because your body is an intelligent system, it does the rest. Thanks for listening. Until next time.